Crank up that brightness. No, yeah. Alright, first and foremost, shout outs to my boy Matt, because he actually helped me to get a lot of the cards for this deck. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. Representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'll be showcasing you guys, for the first time in a very, very long time, Abyss Actor Pendulums. Now, something about this deck is, you know how I say like Zephyr is like the most unique pendulum deck? This deck falls in a category of one of the most unique pendulum decks because its playstyle is so different. It really can't abuse generically applicable cards like most pendulum decks can. Its critical mass is different, its playstyle is completely different, and the way it swarms, the way it pluses, the way it capitalizes off of advantage, the way it can constantly add resources from extra deck back to hand, it makes up for its weaknesses in a lot of different ways. I'm not saying this is the best pendulum deck ever, but I will say that this deck has a way wider variety of utility than almost every other pendulum deck I can think of, just because all of its cards do so many different things, and once they start interacting with each other, that's where 1 and 2 cards become a full complete setup. Like, it's just so crazy how this deck works. Like, this deck's awesome, you guys, honestly, and I feel like if it could summon generics, it would be like a tier 1 pendulum deck, just for the simple fact of how easy it is to get your scales, which is something very imperative for pendulum decks, and also how easy it could swarm. Level 7s and, you know, big boss monsters like level 8s. You could summon like all kinds of XYZs and links. So Konami did a good job balancing it, and the deck's still powerful. It honestly has its own kind of win conditions, its own playstyle that's unique and definitely designated specifically for it. So I'm going to get into profile. I'll explain you guys interactions and actually read some of the cards because it's very important for you to know what they actually do because this deck's not very popular. And also you guys will see how the cards interact with each other. So starting off with 3 copies of Mello Madonna. So I'll quickly read off Mello Madonna so you guys can understand just how powerful this card is. So its scale effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, add 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, except her own self. You can't special for the rest of the turn except the Abyss Actor Pendulums. A lot of the cards say that. That's why I said you can't really summon generics in this deck if you want to use the good effects. And basically, even if this card leaves the field, you can only use this effect once per turn. That's balance right there. Its on-field effect is incredible. It gains 100 attack for each Abyss Script spell in your graveyard, which can get pretty big. When a Pendulum monster you control, any Pendulum monster, is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card from hand, so it's like a hand trap. And if an Abyss Script spell card or effect is activated, you can special 1 level 4 or lower Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck, but return it to your hand during the end phase. So the return it to your hand during the end phase is how Mello Madonna just gets you plus so much off of this card. Like, you just summon Superstar, you set a card like Abyss-tainment, and you literally just activate it. And then Mello Madonna triggers to special summon a card like Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser, dump a card, add from extra deck to hand. In phase, bounce him back, +2 for no, like, you guys are going to see how this deck can plus so hard and get so much resources. That's why I say it absolutely makes up for all the restrictions that Konami put on this deck. It makes up for them in such a strategic way. It's crazy. This deck's resource game is honestly one of the strongest, like, and as far as pendulum archetypes go, and also it's one of the most aggressive OTK pendulum decks you could play without needing to play a bunch of cards that just automatically just get hit by cards like Valor and Ash, things of that nature. You honestly, like, a lot of your cards, like, can't actually be hand trapped. Mello Madonna, obviously, because she could be Ash, but there are certain cards that just do weird stuff like Comic Relief that just switches control monsters. You can't really hand trap that effect. So continuing on, we play 3 copies of Extra. I'm starting with the consistency cards because these cards allow you to get your scales and get your full setup. Abyss Actor Extras in a short, simple sentence. Basically, by tributing him, you can place any Abyss Actor into your scale. That's anything you want, including Madonna. So he's a crazy powerful normal summon. The other thing is basically a scale effect. If your opponent controls monsters, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special him from the scale. That rarely ever comes up. It can, but you really don't need that. The most important thing is this card is a starter as a normal summon. So there's multiple ways that you can use it. You could basically use this, tribute it. You could use this, tribute it to put Mello Madonna in your scale, and then Mello Madonna can search to add another Abyss Actor. So now you get 2 scales. You get a complete setup off of 1 extras. 1 extras get you 2 scales. This is like a monkey board, basically. If you really think of it, that's what I'm saying. I know the deck has a lot of restrictions, but it also has so much utility that it makes up for it, you guys. Extras is crazy. If you open extras plus like Curtain Raiser, for example, you could use extras to get cards like Mello, Madonna, and then you can Curtain Raiser basically. You could basically Curtain Raiser into like Hyper Director into something else. Like there's just so many things you could do with this deck. It's crazy. It's super crazy. And then Wild Hope. I'll explain to you guys what Wild Hope does really fast. So the Wild Hope is basically one of the searchers, but it's a little bit harder to get him because he has to be killed. So basically, skill effect, target Abyss Actor card in your Pendulum Zone, in your other Pendulum Zone, its skill becomes 9. It locks you into the archetype also. Once per turn, you can make this card attack. This card gain 100 attack for each Abyss Actor monster you currently control with different names to the end of this turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, add 1 Abyss Actor card from your deck to your hand. You can only use that effect once per turn. So if he gets destroyed by any means you search in scale, he can modify your scales to give you the highest scale that you need to pin summon 8s. And also he can get attack boost. So he does 3 different things. So a lot of your cards like Mello Madonna does 3 different things. That's a lot of utility. That's why I say about this deck. It makes up for where it lacks. Honestly, it really does. We played 3 copies of Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser is another consistency card. This card was commonly used in Pendulum Turbo variants because he was just a free summon. People forget how powerful his effect is in his own archetype. So essentially, he's going to be a 2200 beater if you control no other monsters, which is crazy. Once per turn, you can send 1 Abyss Script spell from your deck to your graveyard. Semicolon. Cost. Dump an Abyss Script for cost. For cost. For cost. That's crazy. I had to say it like 3 times. And then add 1 face-up Abyss Actor monster. Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Notice that's a soft once per turn. So Curtain Raiser is basically like your Electromite. So you know it's like you have like monkey boards, you have like your own Stratos, and then you have a card that can add resources back from your extra deck to your hand. Think of it like Electromite. There's other cards that have that utility like Zephyr Windy, but he's a non-once per turn that can dump your scripts to your graveyard and then add Pendulum Abyss Actors from your face-up extra deck to your hand. And keep in mind, because you can't summon generic Link monsters consistently, you can only summon like your Link 1, this allows you to play around the fact that you still need the Pendulum mechanic to pin summon, since you can't summon to a bunch of Link zones because you can't spam like Sorry Jascoldra at turn 1, for example. This card allows you to still go critical mass and pin summon a lot of monsters, basically without utilizing Link zones. So this card is crazy. All these cards are very, very powerful for utility. 3 copies of Superstar. He can basically tribute an Abyss Actor in scale and target an Abyss Script spell card, and then you get to add it to your hand. So he allows you to synergize with Curtain Raiser. How you can plus with these cards is because Curtain Raiser is dumping the cards to the graveyard and adding from your extra deck to the hand. He's adding to your extra deck and adding from your graveyard to your hand. So these two have synergy with each other for the simple fact that Superstar, whatever he tributes, to add the script that Curtain Raiser basically dumped to the graveyard, Curtain Raiser could then use his effect again because he's not once per turn. So all you have to do is get a second copy of Curtain Raiser to then dump another script and then add that other copy of the Abyss Actor monster that you tributed off Superstar. So you can pay costs and get the cards that you used to pay costs back. That's how you plus so heavy with this deck. And on field, when he summoned, your opponent can activate any spells or traps. And then he can also set 1 Abyss Scripts directly from your deck. So you could set up super duper strong OTKs with Superstar going into the Rise of the Abyss King, which is like a Steeds for any face-up cards. So this deck has some super duper powerful cards. I think this card's nutty. I like 2 copies of Trinity Understudy. Basically, the card lets you add from your extra deck to your hand if you didn't already have enough utility off of Curtain Raiser. And he allows you to special summon from your extra deck, which is super crazy. So his on-field effect is probably one of the strongest. If you have 2 Abyss Actor Pendulum cards in your Pendulum Zone, you can tribute this card special 1 level 1 or level 8 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your hand or face up from your extra deck. That is utility because also in scale, he allows you to get cards from your extra deck to your hand. So Curtain Raiser and him, like you have a lot of cards that are just going to give you that much more utility. I played 2 copies of Comic Relief. That's the Abyss Actor that I don't have. He's really, really cheeky, but he makes going second such a breeze because he can swap control of your monsters with your opponent. You can give them Wild Hope, attack your Wild Hope, and then get a search off of him and keep the boss monster you took. So be mindful that if your opponent doesn't understand what's going on and they don't negate the activation of him, it's a scale, which is like, dang, they have to negate it if they really know what it does. After that, you'll just be able to just take the monster that threatens you, which is really, really good. Because a lot of these cards are really like soft ones per turns. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then 2 Evil Heals. Evil is really just going to allow you to get super aggressive, go for huge OTK pushes. 2 copies of Sassy Rookie. Sassy Rookie's better for the grind. I'm checking the timer. Okay, Sassy Rookie's a lot better for the grind, but essentially His scale effect is actually pretty crazy, what you can do with it. And if the Abyss Actor monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, you can destroy this card instead. So while he's on field, the first time, I'll just read the whole effect. The first time this card will be destroyed by battle or card effect, each turn it's not. So you have to kill it twice. And then if it's destroyed by battle or if this card in its owner's possession destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special 1 level 4 or lower Abyss Actor from your deck. So it's like a Mystic Tomato except for destruction too. So you essentially have that much more utility to also special from your deck if you didn't already have that effect. This deck has like everything. And then if he's destroyed in the scale, you can actually pop one of your opponent's level 4 or lowers, which is actually relevant because of Jet Synchron and the Adamancipator tuners. So you can use him to disrupt your opponent, which is crazy. Because if you have a way to pop him in scale, if you read him, it says right here, if this card in the Pendulum Zone is destroyed, target 1 level 4 or lower monster your opponent controls destroyed. Also keep in mind, as I'm reading the text, this card doesn't really say any of the effects are once per turn. So Sassy Rookie's crazy, you guys. I do play one Leading Lady. I feel like you should still play one. Her effects are not that great, but actually it's important to still play one in your deck because you miss out on some great interactions. I can briefly go over effect. Once per turn when you take battle damage from an opponent's attacking monster, you can activate one of these effects. The monster loses attack equal to the damage you took, or you can add a face-up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand with attack less than or equal to the damage you took. Every single time, I guarantee you, you should be able to add extras because his attack's 100. If your opponent attack for 100, that's why you should always be able to add the extra because you can't take damage unless it's 100 or more. So she'll always be able to recur extras. Extras get you Madonna. You could reset up your whole scales off of just one Madonna, which is crazy. So this card has vast utility. Its monster effect. Once per turn, when battle damage is inflicted, target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses attack equal to the battle damage. When this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, set one Abyss Script spell directly from your deck. So it's not that strong, but where it comes up, it's very, very impactful. So if you guys see, all of the Abyss Actors have their own utility, and together, they just make a really, really strong deck that can plus so hard. You can just get so many cards back to your hand in turn 1 and add your resources from extra deck to hand. It's so crazy how this deck works, you guys. You should see it played online. It's crazy. I do play a Mythical Beast Axis in this deck because this is either going to bait Ash Blossom or it's just going to resolve so that I can get a free body on the field. Also keep in mind, if your opponent ashes it and you're locked out of the scale, you can make Hyper Director to summon it from the scale, and then you can still play your 2 Abyss Actor scales. So you're basically playing through that Ash, and that's free because you really don't need what the Master Cerberus searches. Because most of the time you can't even summon those cards out anyway, so you're just going Jackal King for Cerberus at that point. And Garuda being a hand trap is really vital because when you can get Cerberus on the field, you'll just let it stack counters and you can use Garuda to catch your opponent off guard on their turn. So this deck is not the strongest going first, but similar to Madolche's, it sets up a wall and can lock you out of the extra deck and can set up a Garuda to bounce, and it also can set up a monster negate. And the cards are going to be really hard to kill. They're all going to flow, and it's just, you're going to struggle to break the board. Also, a really, really nice card to play in this deck is a Morphage Goliath. Reason being is because the Hyper Director actually has an effect to target any card in your Pendulum Zone and summon it. So there's no restriction on that except after you use the effect. So you can just bust out a Goliath. Even if you just want to scale him and like scale like a high scale and pin summon your level 7, you know, for example, just to be able to like pin summon and then do that, you could do that too. But keep in mind, most of your pin summoning happens from the hand almost every time anyways. So the fact that neither player can go into the extra deck doesn't really matter because you can summon your beaters from your hand. And it's just going to be really, really hard because this deck has a resource game where this is a Pendulum deck that can actually grind back. It could grind with back row decks like Altergeist, like Guru Control. It can grind with Eldritch because its cards are always constantly replacing itself. It might not be able to put up the most threatening boards, but in the long run, it's really, really hard to kill, like I said. For spells, 3 Allure Darkness, this card's just basically a no-brainer. And I only have 2, but I'd probably play either a 3rd or a Terraforming or like a 3 Anti-Terraforming and Set Rotation. The field spell is what allows the deck to actually go first, and you could actually play around the Biru. So effectively, you reveal an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster and an Abyss Script spell in your hand, and an Abyss Script spell from your deck to your hand, with a different name than the revealed. While you control Pendulum Summon Abyss Actor Pendulum monster, any effect, any monster effect, which sucks because it's not any effect, but it's any monster effect activated by your opponent, becomes destroy 1 set spell or trap card you control. Because it's destroying a set and because it's your opponent, you have no idea what that turns into. So I'm going to show you guys the rest of the Abyss Scripts. Opening Ceremony's nuts. You can gain life points on activation. If it's popped by your opponent, you draw till you have 5 cards in hand. So this deck pluses for like no reason, I'm telling you guys. Fantasy Magic, it kind of just lets you clear boards. And then also, if it's popped, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, place it on top of the deck. So it's kind of like an interruption in the sense I can set your opponent back. Wild Wagon just lets you basically clear, like, it's just crazy. So, Wild Wagon, the first time each Abyss Factor Pendulum monster you control will be destroyed by battle, each turn is not, which is just the first time for any of them. That's what makes them harder to kill. Once per turn, you can target an Abyss Factor monster you control. Your opponent can't target it with card effects to the end of the turn. That's not that great, but it's still solid for what it's worth. If its set card in its owner control is destroyed, basically, by your opponent's card effect, well, in all of them, you have to have a face-up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster in your extra deck to do these effects. You return all cards your opponent controls to the hand. Wild Wagon's insane. You gotta play it. This card is one of the strongest cards for the archetype. It pops any number of face-up cards up to the number of attack position Abyss Actors you have. And then if it's set and destroyed, you can add up to 2 Abyss Actor cards and or Abyss Script spells with different names from your deck to your hand. So you basically get the +2 if it gets popped. So this card just gives you so much more resources. Like, it's crazy. So, like, theoretically, Twin Twisters can actually make this deck go from no cards in hand to 7, which is crazy. Which makes your opponent scared to even want to hit your back rows unless they have Cyclone. Abyss Tainment lets you recur your Abyss Scripts from graveyard, and because it tributes the monster, this card actually has crazy synergy with Curtain Raiser, because Curtain Raiser dumps and adds, so you can use this to tribute, for example, any Pendulum Abyss Actor monster to add the card that Curtain Raiser dumped, summon it on the Curtain Raiser, dump another one, and then add the card that this tributed back to your hand, then use this to tribute the Curtain Raiser to add it. So you can go like 2 cards to 4. The way these cards just work with each other is crazy. And if this card's popped, while you have one in extra deck, you can summon, I believe you basically get to just spam. You special summon any number of Abyss Actor Pendulum monsters from your deck. So all these cards are super broken, you guys. They're crazy. That's where I say it makes up for where it's lacking. For the extra deck, 3 Hyper Director, it lets you just summon anything from Pendulum Zone, and you get to immediately place an Abyss Actor in your Pendulum Zone. So whatever you activate, basically any Abyss Actor plus any scale becomes a complete setup, like full combo. Because whatever you normal summon turns into him, no matter what you scale, it gets summoned, then you put Mello Madonna and use her to get your other scale, and you have a complete setup. And you could still pin summon the card that you linked off into him from your extra deck. So 2 cards become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you go +3 off 2 cards. That's all I was saying. This deck pluses a lot, you guys. It's crazy. I don't have the best extra deck cards. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have Appaloosa anymore. No Borosaur, no Exos Cold Talker, no Avermax, no IP Masquerena, no super duper solid Link monsters. Those were not even mine to begin with. I was borrowing them. So my extra deck's kind of terrible, but honestly, if you guys have better cards, play them. I would play the Skull Dread. I would play Borreload. Griffin's debatable. The Nightmare's actually nice. So even though you're locked out, after you set up your board and your opponent can't kill you, that's when you go off on turn 2, you could summon the generics. So you summon cards like Dark Anthleon, you go Absolute into Vortex, which is one of the easiest things to do because how quickly you can access the Superstar. So you can still summon generics, you can still summon a board full of negates. It's just really not possible to do it turn 1. That's where you just go Goliath, lock them out, and you could tribute summon for Goliath, tributing it off your field, and then get yourself back into your extra deck. And then we play Baguska, Dugaris, Tornado, and Dweller for Genetic Reinforced. As you can see, the extra deck's not the greatest, but honestly, if I had the best Link monsters in the game, like the rank 4s are solid, the Vortex is solid, but I think the Link monsters just need to be, a little bit like more powerful, because there's some cards that could be better. But that's the deck profile, you guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. If I had all the cards, it definitely would be better. But informational-wise, quality-wise, and as far as the in-depth and the content, I feel like that's on point. So I'm just going to say a quick prayer and I'll be out. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth, just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Thank you, Father. Amen. And don't forget, you guys, this deck, while it does have restrictions, it pluses like an insane amount of cards. The way this deck pluses is just crazy. Like, you don't even have to play Desires to plus. You don't have to play Spellbooks to plus. You don't have to play any Endymion cards to get all these pluses that this deck offers you. You just play the deck as is, and it's already so strong by itself. And going second, honestly, with cards like Comic Relief, Tainment, and the Field Spell, because the Field Spell is anytime your opponent activates a monster effect. So this can also stop their negation. So this can beta negate itself. The Rise and Summoning Superstar, being able to just not allow your because this card can't be negated if you have a certain higher level. That's what I forgot to mention. So if you summon Superstar successfully and you just have this in your hand, your opponent's board's getting broken no matter what, as long as it can be destroyed. So this deck's actually really, really solid going second. Arguably, you could play it going second, and that's fine. I just find you just kind of dibble and dabble between whichever one is stronger for you. If you're up against a deck you know you can go first against, you do that. If you're against a deck that you know you can go second against, you do that. But I'd say blindly, you might want to just blind second at first, because this deck's really not that bad going second, honestly. Comic Relief is just crazy, you guys. Like, these cards are really, really powerful. You can bait 2-3 negates and get complete scales off of 1 Madonna, so don't forget, like, how these cards work. And also, don't forget, once she hits the field, you're just going to plus even more. So, you out-resource people. It's like Sky Strikers. You could just out-resource people with this deck. It's just crazy. All right, deuces, yo.